Welcome to the most comprehensive breakdown of one of anime's most strategic psychological thrillers. Classroom of the Elite takes school competition to a whole new level, where intelligence, manipulation, and sheer cunning determine your fate. From cruise ship VIP tests to brutal sports competitions and academic betrayals, this season delivers non-stop strategic warfare. Let's dive into every twist, turn, and mastermind move that makes this series unforgettable. The season kicks off with Akane Tachibana reporting the first year's special test results to Student Council President Manabu. While aboard a luxury cruise ship, the first years receive news of their second special test. Students gather at designated rendezvous points. Ayanokoji accompanies Karuizawa, Sotomura, and Yukimura, where an instructor explains the VIP test mechanics. Students are divided into 8 planetary groups, Mars, Jupiter, Venus, etc., with mixed class compositions, 3 from classes A and B, 4 from classes C and D. The test spans 3 days with a complex point system. If everyone except the VIP's classmates correctly identifies the VIP, all gain 500,000 private points. If someone betrays early, different outcomes occur with class points shifting dramatically. The Mars group's first discussion reveals immediate tension when Machida and his Class A teammates refuse to cooperate, warning that Ichino's idealistic Case 1 strategy opens them up for betrayal. The episode concludes with Karuizawa being confronted by Manabe and Class C girls, accusing her of bullying, though Machida surprisingly comes to her defense, and by day's end, Karuizawa has a breakdown, signaling deeper personal issues at play. Information warfare begins as Hirata receives intel suggesting Kushida is a VIP, sharing it with Ayanokoji and Yukimura. Chaos erupts when Quenji apparently identifies the Jupiter group's VIP, ending their test prematurely and infuriating Suzune. Recognizing they need to unite Class D strategically, Ayanokoji and Suzune target Karuizawa as their key player due to her influence over the Class D girls. Meanwhile, Ryuin makes his power play, collecting his classmates' phones to control information flow and proposing an alliance against Class A that Suzune refuses. A vulnerable moment reveals Karuizawa calling herself a parasite due to her codependency on others, while elsewhere, Kushida awkwardly embraces Ayanokoji before fleeing. Teacher Hoshinomiya questions Chabashira about Ayanokoji's unexpected leadership during the island test, but receives no answer. Before the third discussion, Karuizawa pointedly asks Ayanokoji if he's the VIP, and as discussions continue reaching deadlock, Ayanokoji and Yukimura notice the girls rallying behind Karuizawa. Following her after the fourth discussion, the boys witness from hiding as the girls corner and insult Karuizawa in a disturbing confrontation. Yukimura and Ayanokoji attempt to intervene in Karuizawa's harassment, but she angrily pushes them away, maintaining her pride even while suffering. On day 3, when the Venus group's test concludes and Ayanokoji suspects Class C is exploiting the system, he makes a calculated move, sending an email to Manabe that deliberately lures Karuizawa to a secluded part of the ship. There, Rika and her group ambush Karuizawa, with Manabe deducing her bullying trauma and triggering a panic attack before having Rika slap her. The chilling revelation hits. Ayanokoji orchestrated this encounter, watching from the shadows as Karuizawa suffers. After the girls leave, Ayanokoji approaches and coldly berates her. In this broken state, Ayanokoji offers a deal, his protection in exchange for her cooperation in uniting Class D and winning tests, essentially making her his tool. During the climactic final discussion, Hamaguchi proposes everyone reveal their email assignments to achieve Case 1, and despite the risk, students comply one by one until Yukimura hesitates. then shockingly declares himself the VIP, begging for protection. However, Ichino's exposes the deception by calling Ayanokoji's phone, revealing the elaborate ploy involving switched phones and SIM cards facilitated by Chabashira. Class C ultimately wins, and Ryuen reveals Kushida was among the VIPs, setting up future conflicts. The VIP selection method is revealed. Students were chosen based on their name's position in hiragana scripture, corresponding to their planetary groups. Class D discusses Class C's lack of unity as the school announces the sports festival, a 13-event competition where Team Red, Classes A and D, faces Team White, Classes B and C. The festival offers significant rewards. Top 3 placements can choose between 1,000 private points or written exam bonuses, while bottom 10 lose exam bonuses, and classes must strategically assign participants. During planning, Suzune advocates for merit-based assignment, where stronger students carry weaker ones to maximize wins. Karuizawa boldly opposes this approach, arguing that Suzune's condescending attitude toward incompetent classmates prevents true unity. Kushida diplomatically suggests combining both ideas, which gains traction until Suzune's harsh dismissal of weaker students as incompetent turns the class against her. Hirata intervenes with a vote, and Suzune's method narrowly wins despite the growing resentment. Privately, Karuizawa meets Ayanokoji, revealing he orchestrated her opposition to test class dynamics and expose the traitor he suspects is feeding information to other classes. Class D trains extensively, but Suzune's inability to compromise troubles Ayanokoji. After a 3-legged race demonstrates this flaw, he realizes she fundamentally fails to see allies as equals. Ayanokoji proposes that he, Suzune, and Kushida surveil Team White together, subtly testing his theory that Kushida sold VIP information and continues betraying the class. Ayanokoji and Suzune theorize that Kushida is betraying Class D because she's receiving private points from other classes, and they bring her along for Team White surveillance. When Suzune bluntly asks if she sold VIP information, Kushida denies it and pleads for trust, though her discomfort is obvious. The sports festival begins with Sudo motivating the class, while the mysterious Sakayanagi Arisu observes from Class A. Morale immediately plummets when Koenji abandons the competition, and disaster strikes when Ryuen personally defeats Sudo in Topple the Pole. Then Suzune accidentally injures Kinoshita Saki, creating guilt and interclass tension. After failing to convince Koenji to return, Suzune has a rare, vulnerable moment admitting she once liked Kushida despite their current antagonism. Team White systematically targets Sudo and Suzune in subsequent events. Karuizawa and Ayanokoji deduce that the Class D traitor leaked their participation list, enabling Ryuen to exploit their key players. In a shocking admission, Ayanokoji reveals he never wanted Class D to win the festival and considers doing nothing a valid strategy. When Sudo retreats into school, effectively abandoning his team and cratering morale, Ayanokoji coldly tells Suzune to be useful and convince Sudo to return. Kushida and Suzune encounter Ryuen at the medical office, where he accuses Suzune of deliberately hurting Saki and demands 1 million private points and Suzune's submission to him. In a touching moment with her brother Manabu in the hallway, Suzune admits her incompetence and promises not to burden him anymore, affirming she has one crucial task remaining for the festival. Suzune finds Sudo and learns his participation was motivated by seeking attention and revenge against classmates who mocked him. She tells him that without continuing to fight, he'll remain worthless, and she'll await his return. Words that plant seeds but don't immediately convince him. Before the break ends, Ayanokoji directly confronts Kushida about being the traitor in a tense private conversation. She initially denies it, but cleverly counters by asking why he didn't change the participation list if he knew she'd leaked it, deducing that doing so would have caused interclass confusion and exposed his awareness. Cornered by his logic, Kushida finally confesses she is the traitor, leaked the list, and sold her VIP information to Ryuan because she desperately wants both Suzune and Ayanokoji expelled from school. Suzune makes one final appeal to Sudo, revealing their shared nature, both constantly seeking acknowledgement from others. She opens up about always chasing Manabu's recognition, isolating herself from peers in that pursuit, and how her experiences with Class D taught her that she cannot fight alone and needs genuine allies. Moved by her vulnerability and growth, Sudo gives in and returns to the festival, apologizing for his earlier abandonment. For the final event, Suzune and another male student are replaced by Kushida and Ayanokoji. Manabu discusses Class D's future with Ayanokoji, who agrees to race against the student council president in the relay to reveal more about himself. When Ayanokoji receives the baton, both he and Manabu lap all other runners, racing at dead heat in a jaw-dropping display that leaves the entire school in awe of their superhuman abilities. Despite this spectacular performance, Class D finishes last overall in the festival, though classmates praise Ayanokoji's incredible showing. In the crucial confrontation with Ryuan and Kushida about his blackmail demands, Suzune directly accuses Kushida of being the traitor and tells her to drop the fake nice girl persona. Kushida complies with chilling honesty, revealing her intention to expel Suzune by any means and eliminate anyone who knows her true nature. Ryuan admits he had Kushida provide the participation list and instructed Saki to deliberately get injured by Suzune to create the blackmail scenario. Ryuan receives an anonymous email containing evidence, and he praises the mysterious mastermind behind Suzune and Class D for their impressive anticipation. Manabu announces his resignation from the student council, with Miyabi Nagumo from Class 2A taking over and promising to transform the school into a pure meritocracy, a concerning development. After assembly, Katsuragi Kohei from Class 1A privately warns Ayanokoji, Suzune, and Class D to be extremely wary of Ryuan's dangerous nature. Despite finishing last in the sports festival, no Class D students face expulsion, shocking even teacher Chabashira. She introduces their next special test serving as final exams, Paper Shuffle, a brutal partner system where paired students must collectively score above 60 points across all subjects or both face expulsion, meaning even a 0 to 60 split works. Partners are determined by a preliminary mini-test, and there's a threshold for total class points. Each class creates exam questions for others to answer, can request specific classes to take their test, and the winner of these head-to-head matchups steals 50 class points from the loser. Karuizawa emails Ayanokoji about witnessing Sato's confession, revealing possible jealousy. Suzune reveals her past connection with Kushida. They attended the same middle school together. Before graduation, an incident destroyed their entire class, and rumors suggested a single female student was the catalyst. Suzune believes this was Kushida. Meanwhile, Ryuan interrogates Manabe, wrongly identifying her as Class D's mastermind based on her involvement in the Karuizawa situation. Ayanokoji and Suzune implement their strategy, having some students deliberately flunk the mini-test so top scorers can pair with struggling students. Later, the mini-test results pair Ayanokoji with Sato for Paper Shuffle, setting up interesting personal dynamics. Kushida's backstory surfaces, providing context for her psychological state. Class D organizes study sessions for Paper Shuffle with Kushida and Suzune as overseers, though Kushida leaves upon receiving a mysterious email. During the session, students acknowledge Ayanokoji's hidden abilities after his festival performance, and he warns them to prepare for dirty tricks from other classes. Later, Ayanokoji relays this analysis to Suzune as they discuss keeping Kushida under observation by including her in oversight. Ayanokoji receives a direct email from Ryuan asking about Class D's mastermind. The hunt intensifies. In a pivotal private meeting, Suzune makes a dangerous bet with Kushida regarding the math portion of Paper Shuffle. If Suzune scores higher, Kushida must respect her authority. If Kushida wins, Suzune will voluntarily get expelled. To make it binding, they have Manabu witness the agreement. After Manabu leaves, Kushida senses Ayanokoji listening via phone call and demands to meet him separately. During their meeting, Kushida adds a chilling condition. If she wins the bet, Ayanokoji will also be expelled, and he calmly agrees. Ayanokoji asks about her past, and Kushida provides her full origin story. As a child, she was praised for achievements and became addicted to attention. When praise stopped, she manufactured it by becoming the perfect nice person everyone could rely on and trust. This facade took severe psychological toll, so she created an anonymous blog to vent through gossiping about classmates. When classmates discovered the blog, they shunned her. Then she exposed every secret she'd collected, turning everyone against each other and completely destroying the class. She reveals she knows devastating secrets about Class D students that could ruin them, explaining that being praised and knowing people's dark truths gives her a twisted thrill. She's a monster, created by the desire for recognition. Kushida meets with Ryuen to inform him of her bet with Ayanokoji and Suzune. Offering their expulsion in exchange for his help, she'll ensure Class C wins paper shuffle by sabotaging Class D. Later, Ryuen intrudes on a Class D study session, vaguely probing about anonymous emails to identify the mastermind through reactions. Shina Hiyori from Class C makes an interesting observation. Ayanokoji and Yukimura have forgettable faces, making it difficult to determine if either is the mastermind. That night, Ayanokoji recruits Karuizawa for a crucial role in Paper Shuffle, and she sends him a birthday wish, revealing personal feelings. The next day, Suzune monitors all study group progress, while Kushida reminds everyone to try their hardest, a statement Karuizawa receives skeptically, as she doesn't actually care if people fail. Later, Kushida volunteers to submit Class D's test questions and asks Chabashira to discard any other copies, centralizing control. As planned, Kushida provides these questions to Ryuen per their deal, seemingly sealing Class D's fate. During the math test, Kushida is shocked to see the questions aren't what she submitted. After the exam, she angrily confronts Ryuen, but he reveals that Suzune anticipated everything. In reality, Suzune asked Chabashira to accept only her copy of questions and discard others, cutting Kushida out of the loop entirely. The accidentally spilled drink incident was Karuizawa planting a cheat sheet in Kushida's uniform. Ryuen gave his class's question copy to the true Class D mastermind, betraying Kushida's trust. Forced into a corner, Kushida begrudgingly agrees to fulfill her bet's terms, but declares she will continue sabotaging Ayanokoji. The episode ends with Ryuen planning to isolate Karuizawa from Ayanokoji, having identified her as a key connection point. Every student successfully passes Paper Shuffle, avoiding expulsions and maintaining class stability. The Ayanokoji group observes Ichino's and Arisu socializing, noting how Ichino seems impossibly perfect, kind, smart, athletic, and beloved, which makes strategizing to defeat Class B feel almost morally wrong. A Class C student begins following Karuizawa around, marking the beginning of Ryuen's targeted harassment campaign. That night, Karuizawa informs Ayanokoji of both the stalking and that Class C was spying on their study sessions during Paper Shuffle preparation. The next day, every Class D student faces harassment from Class C members, creating an oppressive environment. Suzune recognizes Ryuen's strategy, deliberately exploiting the mastermind's existence, attempting to bait them into revealing themselves while simultaneously trying to make Suzune appear as the mastermind through targeted attention. While returning Suzune's book to the library, Ayanokoji has a meaningful conversation with Hiyori despite being rivals, showing his ability to connect across class boundaries. Afterwards, the tone drastically shifts when Ayanokoji is summoned to the school reception room to meet his father for the first time in a year and a half. The conversation is tense and dark. His father reveals that the butler who helped Ayanokoji apply to the school has committed suicide as consequence for his betrayal. Ayanokoji explains he left his family to pursue an independent path, but his father dismisses this, forcing him to sign a school withdrawal form and return to the mysterious White Room, some kind of facility from Ayanokoji's past. Then Mr. Sakayanagi, the school chairman and Arisu's father, arrives in time to prevent the abuse and allows Ayanokoji to remain at school, exercising his authority to protect students. Ayanokoji confronts Chubashira about her true reasons for wanting to reach Class A, seeking to understand the adults' motivations in this school. In what seems like a moment of surrender, Ayanokoji apologizes to Karuizawa for using her as a tool and announces he will stop trying to manipulate Class D's trajectory, leaving leadership to Suzune and Hirata instead, effectively claiming he's withdrawing from the Shadow War. Karuizawa reflects on the previous night's troubling conversation where Ayanokoji seemed to give up. Ryuen makes his boldest move yet, intruding directly into Class D during school hours with his enforcers. When Koenji casually leaves class, Ryuen and his men pursue him. In the courtyard, Koenji faces off against multiple Class C students as Ryuen begins his psychological assault. Sakayanagi Arisu and Class A students arrive to spectate, turning the confrontation into a public spectacle. In an unexpected twist, Koenji demonstrates complete indifference to Ryuen's manipulation, bluntly stating he has zero interest in the interclass warfare. Frustrated but recognizing Koenji isn't his target, Ryuen subsides his aggression. But Arisu seizes the opportunity to gaslight Ryuen by teasing him about his failures and lack of control. Enraged, Ryuen attempts to kick Arisu, but Hashimoto from Class A intervenes to defend her, preventing violence. As everyone disperses, Ryuen turns his attention to the real targets, telling Class D students that he knows a mastermind exists and will expose them. In the climactic sequence, Ryuen, Mio, Ishizaki, and Albert successfully lure Karuizawa to a remote construction site under false pretenses. Once isolated, they corner her and demand she reveal the identity of Class D's mastermind, with Ryuen employing psychological torture by pouring water on her. The episode ends on this terrifying cliffhanger with Karuizawa suffering alone. As Ryuen continues torturing Karuizawa for information about the mastermind, she desperately tries to hide the truth despite the escalating physical and psychological abuse. Recognizing the danger, Ayanokoji takes action, requesting help from both Chubashira and Manabu to handle the situation properly. Ayanokoji arrives at the construction site and makes his declaration. He is Class D's mastermind, the one who has been orchestrating their strategies from the shadows. What follows is a shocking display of overwhelming force. Ayanokoji allegedly defeats Ryuen's entire group, including the intimidating Albert in combat, though the specifics remain somewhat ambiguous. After the confrontation ends, Karuizawa and Ayanokoji have a moment of reconciliation. This episode serves as the major climax, with Ayanokoji stepping out of the shadows to protect his key asset and reveal his true nature. The aftermath unfolds with Ryuen making a significant decision. He will refrain from insulting or harassing anyone at school, essentially admitting defeat and withdrawing from the conflict temporarily. Suzune receives consultation from her brother Manabu about student council matters. In a private conversation, Ayanokoji meets with Ryuen to discuss the future, revealing more of his philosophy and intentions. He tells Ryuen that he will continue observing Class D's process toward ascending ranks, but drops a bombshell prediction. Class D will likely reach Class C status, but will then be demoted again because Ayanokoji intends to expel Kushida during the following term, showing he's thinking multiple moves ahead and willing to sacrifice pieces. On Christmas Day, the tone shifts to lighter territory, with a double date involving Ayanokoji, Sato, Karuizawa, and Hirata exploring potential romantic developments. However, Ayanokoji demonstrates his emotional limitations by revealing he lacks genuine romantic feelings for anyone and breaks up with Sato. In a telling exchange, Ayanokoji receives a gift from Karuizawa, something personal and meaningful, while he gives her cold medicine in return, a practical but emotionally distant gesture that symbolizes their complicated relationship dynamic. Ayanokoji then encounters Sakayanagi Arisu, setting up future confrontations.